Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sherwin, and today in this video I'll be talking about what is decoupling and should you decouple. In simpler terms, decoupling is just the removal of a person's name from a property ownership so that name is free up to buy a second or third property with no ABSD. What is the process for decoupling? It's fairly straightforward. Usually for all my clients, I will always ask them, what is the purpose of you decoupling? Of course, 99% of the time, they will tell me it's to avoid ABSD to buy a second property. Then I will ask them, so do you want to decouple now or in the future? Or do you have a property that you already have in mind that you want to purchase? Because if you do, then proceed with the next few steps. The first step to decoupling is to assess your own financial situation. Firstly, is the current property fully paid? Because if it is fully paid, it will be easier for you to decouple. Secondly, if it's not fully paid, you have to determine the loan eligibility for both individual property owners. Why so? Because the remaining party will have to service the full mortgage amount, and the exiting party must have enough loan, cash and CPF to buy the second property. If you do not have all this and you are not financially stable, I would advise to put decoupling on hold at the moment. Secondly, after you determine that you are financially stable and you're not over leveraging, consult a law firm first or a lawyer to see if there are any things that might deter you from decoupling. Because for decoupling wise, usually I seldom see it happen, but it's a trust issue, because if you are a married couple, both of you will be holding one property under each other's name. And touch wood, in the event you do get divorced, things might get ugly, which hopefully not. And lastly, will be determine what is the property you want to buy next, because you can decouple anytime. But if you do not have a property in mind or an objective you want to achieve and you decouple, you are just wasting money. Which brings me to the next point. What are the fees involved in decoupling? The fees involved in decoupling is firstly, a valuation fee will be involved, because you do have to pay the bank to check on your existing property, a new valuation. Secondly will be the legal fee. It's a one-off legal fee which is payable to two law firms, because decoupling is just like a sales and purchase agreement. So there will be a buying party and there will be a selling party. So the decoupling cost usually costs around 5,500 to 7,000 depending on the law firm and of course your property value. And lastly will be the stamp duty payable. To keep things short, if your property value is 2 million and your ownership is 50% and 50%, the person that is buying over the 50% will have to pay 50% of the buyer's stamp duty from the existing party. So these three are the costs involved. And how long does it usually take for decoupling to complete? Usually decoupling will take around 10 to 12 weeks. In certain cases, you can push it for it to be faster. And once you have this in mind, you can determine when to buy your second property with no ABSD. So should you decouple? I think that is one of the main questions people usually ask themselves. Is it the right time to decouple? Should I be decoupling? Or should I just be selling off my property and buying another one? Firstly, if you want to decouple, are you financially stable? Can you handle two mortgages at once? Because even though one might give you rental income, you still have to understand that you are taking up two loans and there will be risk involved. Secondly, is your relationship stable? Because by decoupling, one person might be holding on to a bigger property, whereas the other might be holding on to a smaller property. So this is something personal which you do have to sort it out with your partner. Thirdly, do you foresee yourself not selling your existing property for the next 3 years? Because once you decouple, right, your seller's stamp duty actually reset. So you can't sell your property, or rather you can, but if you sell your existing property, you will incur seller's stamp duty as high as 12% on the first year. And lastly, have you considered the cost savings that you will get from decoupling against the potential ABSD. Because if you are owning like 2 or more property and you want to decouple, most likely in most cases it will be more worthwhile to just pay the ABSD to our government rather than going through the hassle of decoupling so many properties and incurring buyer stamp duty and legal fees, which amount to a larger sum than you just directly paying off the ABSD. So if you're considering decoupling, do not decouple if you don't have a clear objective in mind and if you're not financially stable at the moment. Consider all the other options before you decouple. Of course, if currently you are owning a HDB or you have a private property but you cannot afford to decouple, you can always sell your property and plan your property in such a way that it is easier for you to decouple in the future. Whether you want to decouple or not, at least that ownership structure gives you the flexibility in the future, so the cost that you incur will be lesser. My following few videos, I will be giving example on successful decoupling case study and how you should structure your ownership so that it is easier for you to decouple if you do want to do so in the future. That's it for my video today. Thanks for listening, and if you have any real estate queries, do feel free to PM me or just drop me a WhatsApp.